yesterday was we started reviewing dividing fractions, and we're going to continue to work on that today. And the big thing that we always have to remember is that division is always dividing or splitting things up into groups. So it's always going to be a half what we have, no matter how much it is. 100, a fraction, like a fourth, anything. What we have, we're going to divide that into groups. Now, that can be a number of groups, say 4 people, 4 groups, or a kind of group by saying like what size pieces, like a fourth of a size of a piece. So what we always do is that we have groups, or have divided by groups, and then it's going to give us the other sort of group. So if we do, and what I mean by that is we can do have divided by how many groups is going to tell us what kind of groups we get. Right? And an example of that would be if I have $10 and I split that amongst 5 people, the kind of group each person will get 2 of something. Okay? Well, the same idea applies that if we say we have divided by the kind of groups, right? That'll tell us how many groups we can do. Alright, so same idea, if I have $10 and I want to divide that into $2 groups, I can give that to 5 people. Notice that these 2 problems here are very similar. So this would be $10, this is 5 people, and then this is going to give us $2. Again, have $10 in both. How many people am I splitting it between is 5, and that's going to give me the kind of group that each person's going to get, which is $2. This one, I have $10, the kind of group, right, kind of group is $2, and how many people does that give it to is 5. So the same idea applies when we're talking about fractions here, all right? So what I mean by that is we're going to have 10 of something. It can be $10, 10 pounds, 10 liters, 10 gold, 10 animal cracker goldfish, not real goldfish because we can't split those up. But anyway, and we're going to split that into fractions, and what we ought to remember is we'll split that into half. Okay, 10 divided by half. Fractions can never be groups because we can't have half a person. So 10 is what we have divided by the kind of group, and that's going to leave us, if we remember, have divided by kind is going to tell us how many. So what I'm looking for here is if I start with 10 of something and I split it into 1/2 size pieces, how many total groups are there going to be? Well, let's think about that. If we use our idea of pictures, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you didn't get that first page written down, that's fine. But what you need to do is get this page copied down with me as I do it. So I'm drawing 10 boxes here because that's what I have. Right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split each of those boxes into 1/2 size pieces. So that's half of a box. So that's 1 piece, 2 piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to split all of these boxes into 1/2 size pieces. Now the idea is that I can count how many total pieces that I have left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So using my picture, I found that I have 20 pieces. Well, notice that I have 2 plus 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 2. Now I can write that as a number sentence as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. But what other operation can I use here that would give me the same answer using these 2's? Instead of 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, I could say 10 times 2, which still gives me 20, right? Well, what we're looking at and using here is now, going back to our original problem that says 10 divided by 1/2, I'm saying that I'm going to multiply 10 by 2 because that's how many pieces each of these are split into. That's why I'm multiplying. So if I have 10 of something, each one of those 10 is split into 2 pieces. So then the idea becomes is that I'm going to do 10 times 10 times 2, and I'm going to divide that by 1 because each of the size or kind of pieces is one piece. So this right here is one piece. That's why I'm dividing it by 1. So again, it's what I have. Sorry, I'll erase that. It's going to be what I have times the number of groups here, because that's how many groups it's going to tell me that I have. That's going to give me my total. Now, notice that we're looking for how many groups we're getting. So when we multiply those, so that's what we're going to multiply 10 times 2 and divide it by 1. So 10 times 2 is 20 divided by 1 equals 20. Now, that works. Now, we can write that a different way. We can write that as 10 times 2 over 1 because all fractions are division problems. So what that really turns into is, like we all know, 10 over 1 times 2 over 1, which turns into 20 over 1, which then we know is 20. All right, so we're going to work on this again with a different kind of fraction. All right, so make sure you have this all copied down. And now we're going to do 4 divided by 2/3. Here's the question that I want you to ask yourself right now. I'm going to have, we all know that I have 4. What size pieces am I going to split all of those 4 into? The answer is I'm going to split all of those 4 into thirds because that's what my denominator is telling me, and that's how many size pieces there are. Okay, so let's get to that step. So let's get our 4, and then let's, like this denominator tells us, split it into thirds. Sorry, I'm just trying to connect the lines there. So right now I have 4, check, and I split it into thirds. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count every 2 boxes as one group. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So notice that these 2 pieces together is one group. These 2 pieces together is one group because this is telling me that each group needs to have 2 pieces. It's split into thirds, but it needs to be 2 pieces, or 2/3, to make one group. So notice I can start counting these groups. So I notice that these 2 groups together is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the pair of groups, even though it's split into thirds, or I can count my 2s, I can connect them, however, should give me 6. So right now, our idea that 4 divided by 2/3 equals 6. Well, let's talk about the math behind that. So 4 divided by 2/3. Well, like we did earlier, let's look back. We're multiplying what we have by the number of pieces each one is divided into. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 3 because I have 4 boxes. I have 4, and I'm splitting them into 3 pieces inside of there. So that's going to give me 12 total pieces. But the difference is that here I divided by 1 because each piece was 1. When we go back and look at this, I have to divide this by what? 2. That's right, because I have to get 2 pieces to make one group. Okay, so then 12 divided by 2 is 6. That's what we're doing here. Now, how do we really write that? 4 divided by 2 over 3 turns into 4 times 3, because that's how many pieces each group is. Right, so I have 4 splitting up into 3, so that's going to give me the 12 total pieces that we see in this picture. And then I'm going to divide it by 2, because each group, or the kind of group that I need, is 2/3. Two of these little smaller pieces. So that really turns into 4/1 times 3/2. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 2 is 2. And then we can reduce 2 goes into 12 6 times evenly. So now we've decided that there's 1, 2, 3 ways that we proved that 4 divided by 2/3 equals 6. And again, let's talk about what this question is really asking us. It's what I have divided by the kind of groups, and it's going to tell me how many. So if I have 4, I'm splitting it into thirds, right? I'm splitting it into groups of 2/3. So I have to cut it into thirds to give away 2/3. So I have 4, what'll be 4 times 3 divided by 2, because I'm going to have 12 total pieces, but then I have to pair them up, and that'll give me how many groups I have? 6. Sorry, I should have erased that. Equals 6. Alright? So, here's what I want you to do. As you notice, we're doing whole numbers divided by fractions here. I'm going to give you 2 example problems. I want you to draw a picture for all of your practice. Then I want you to do the math. And again, the math that I want to see is have divided by the kind of groups equals how many. And I want to see you turn that into a multiplication problem. Alright, so like we had before, and for example, let me just go back. For example, we had 4 divided by 2/3. What I want you to really make sure you're writing in that step is that you're multiplying 4 times 3, because that's how many groups we're having, and 2 is how much each size of the group is. So 4 times 2/3. I want to see this in your math. So get a picture, do the math for all 3 of these. Alright, so let's do 8 divided by 1/3. Let's do, 10 divided by 2 fifths. And 3, let's do 8 divided by 3/4. I will give you a hint. This one right there is going to have a mixed number. That means it's going to have a whole number and a fraction remainder. I want to see what you do with that, so I know if we need to work on that tomorrow. Alright? Good luck.
All right.